Welcome to Big Blend Radio's virtual cafe. Pull up a seat and let's find out who we're having a happy hour conversation with today. Everyone, you know we love our hangout here on Big Blend Radio, our happy hour hangout shows, and you never know what could happen. But when I saw that our pizza day, our happy hour day is actually National Pizza Party Day. I'm like, May 16th, come on, let's have a party. Let's talk pizza. Let's talk wine, maybe some brews. Who knows what's going to happen on the show, but we have some amazing guests joining us talking about pizza, toppings, favorite pizza destinations. I know that there's some fun pizza facts out there too that we can dig up, but we've got some great guests. I'm going to start off with Peggy Fiandaca. Her and her husband Kurt own and run LDV Winery in Arizona. And Peggy also has a podcast with us every first Wednesday called Wine Time with Peggy. And May's episode, which will be linked in the episode notes, is all about Italian favorites and wine, Italian food and wine. And welcome back, Peggy. How are you?
Thank you. I am glad to be here. One of my favorite topics, pizza. And Arizona actually is a pizza destination. There's incredible pizzas here in Arizona, believe it or not. And I think it's because all the transplants from New York and Chicago, but it's a great place to get a good slice.
I didn't know. Now, you are originally from Chicago, right? So
that's correct.
Okay, so how are you feeling that we have a Pope from Chicago? Does this change the pizza? I mean, is he going to have his own pizza?
Oh, I am sure it's a deep dish pizza. Believe me, if you're from Chicago, it's all about the deep dish pizza. And we're excited to have a Pope from Chicago, of course, from the U.S., but from Chicago specifically. And of course, he's a Cubs fan, I hear. So that's awesome.
I'm just thinking, like, you know, you have a Pope mobile, and I'm not disrespecting here, but it's just fun. If you have a Pope mobile, he has to have a Pope pizza. Someone's going to do it somewhere. You know it's going to happen.
Well, it's all over social media. I don't know if you've seen some of the memes of the Pope with, you know, he has a deep dish pizza hanging around his neck, and he has a Cubs hat on, and he has the Bears, and he has everything around him that are from Chicago. So, yeah, I think Chicagoans are very proud to have our first U.S. Pope from Chicago.
I love this. And that means he plays the blues too. I'm just saying, not just any blues, the electric blues. You know, this is important. This is fantastic. Everyone, Peggy's website is ldvwinery.com. As always, the links are in the episode notes. And sticking with Illinois, I'm going to go to Cliff Garstang because I believe Cliff, every time he comes on a group party show here on Big Blend Radio, someone is from Illinois or somewhere close to where he has lived. And I kind of think it's happening again. I was telling Nancy, I'm like, Cliff's going to be on with Peggy. They both lived in Illinois. This is fantastic. So everyone, Cliff Garstang is an incredible author, novelist, also essayist, and you can go to his website, cliffordgarstang.com. So welcome back, Cliff. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I love it. We'd love to have you back on the show. So now, did you live near Chicago? You were in Peoria, right? In Illinois.
That's Peoria.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm in trouble. No pizza for me.
I grew up in Peoria, but I went to college in Chicago, and then after graduate school, I went back to Chicago. So I definitely consider, first of all, Chicago is my favorite city in the country. So, yeah, big time Chicago guy.
So is this deep dish for you too?
Absolutely. When growing up in Peoria, I don't think I ever had deep dish. My parents were more thin crust folks, but as soon as I got to Chicago and people were taking me downtown to the deep dish places, I was totally convinced that was the best.
Is it more cheese or is it more like toppings? Like, I'm concerned about, like, I want more cheese. It's important. So when you talk deep dish, do we have, like, is it double mushrooms and double cheese? What's going on with that? Because I've never had one.
It's mostly crust, frankly, a thicker crust that rises, and it also has, as much toppings as the restaurant will add, but my favorite was sausage. And instead of just little chunks of sausage that you get in most places, this was like a whole layer of sausage across the whole top of the pizza. And that's what made it great for me. But you can ask for extra cheese if you want.
Okay. Well, now you're talking my language here. Sausage. It was sausage day here today. I made Nancy crepes and with sausage on the side and mushrooms and 4-cheese sauce mushrooms sauteed with shallots and garlic and sweet red peppers and a 4-cheese sauce. It's kind of like pizza. See, I think everything I cook is inspired by pizza. So, it may be crepes. It wasn't a deep dish, but I was like, okay, we'll do crepes and I'm going to do this, So everybody else has berries. I'm going for sausage and cheese and mushrooms. This pizza, it is. And it's allowed in the morning, by the way. So I love that. So let's go over to Jeff. Jeff is the author of My Life in Gluttony. I love the title of the book. In fact, it's still sitting with me. My Life in Gluttony, a culinary adventure. He's a world traveler. I think everyone on the show today are world travelers. And he's a food writer. He's a branding expert. He loves to cook. So he's based out in Jacksonville, Florida, which we drove by and waved at him, but we didn't get to meet him yet. We will soon. So Jeff, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Thanks, Lisa, and hi, everybody. Just listening to these opening remarks, I'm getting hungrier than I should be at the beginning. I should have gotten myself a big old pizza and put it in the office with me while we're talking, but my bad.
I know. Now, what do you think? Is deep dish good? Have you been to Chicago?
So I just finished writing a story about pizza trends and toppings and all of this stuff. And, one of the things that there was a guy I spoke to at General Mills. He's the corporate chef over there, a guy named Kurt Wagner. And he said that there are only 3 elements for pizza's overall appeal. It's either the dough, the sauce, or the cheese. And he says when they're properly balanced, then you get a perfect pizza. And so whether you go for the Neapolitan style or the New York style or the Detroit style or the Chicago deep dish or the grandma or there are other styles out there, but if they're perfectly balanced, you got a good pizza. And so I'm an equal opportunity pizza eater. Just bring it on. I'll be happy. And I'm with you. I like pepperoni, and this new pepperoni that's appearing on pizzas is pretty cool. But
it's spicier.
I don't know if it's spicier, but it retains some of the oil so that it makes the pizza juicier, more flavorful pizza. But anyway, I'll eat it all. I'm not an advocate for one over the other. I am, however, an advocate. It's got to be a good pizza. There's a lot of crap out there, but if it's a good pizza, I'm your guy.
Okay, wait a minute though. I got an email. We all saw your email saying, no to pineapple and yes to anchovies, which is, we have to go there. We might as well start right now.
That's toppings. I was talking about the pizza in general. Look, if you bring a pineapple pizza, I might have to order a different pizza for myself. I'm sorry. Pineapple, and I can eat it to be polite, but no, thank you. And anchovies, I understand a lot of people don't like it, and they don't even want to split pizza with anchovies on one side because they say the anchovy flavor creeps over onto their side. So, but I like anchovies.
So Rose is back on Big Blend Radio here. Rose Palmer is a travel writer and a photographer, and she likes to call into Big Blend Radio from cruise ships as often as she can, and that's what she's doing again today. She has a podcast with us every second Thursday called Quilt Tripping Travel with Rose, and she does make quilts, and sometimes while she's at sea, she does that. Sometimes she makes them about the places she's going to visit, and guess what? Today she's calling in from the Princess, the Emerald Princess, right, Rose?
Yes, I am. I'm back on the ship. You know how much I like to cruise. And this time I'm cruising into the Baltic, which is a brand new region for me. And I'll be visiting cities and towns that I have not been to before. So I'm really excited about all these new adventures.
This is cool. Now, have you had pizza on the ship that you're on right now?
Yes, I have. Of course I have. There, all the apprenticeships have a by the slice pizza station up on the pool deck. And that was my lunch yesterday when I boarded, and that was my lunch with a salad today, a slice of pizza and a salad. Um, it's um, it's a quick lunch, and that I really enjoy.
Mm. Well, this is cool. Now, I know that you come from Chicago originally. Are
Yes.
you a deep disher?
So one thing we haven't talked about in terms of Chicago pizza is the stuffed pizza, which is slightly different than the deep dish. And are you familiar with the stuffed pizza?
Yes, a little bit. We
Okay.
like the
So
stuffed crust that has a lot of cheese. Once again, we're
yes,
back to the cheese.
exactly.
This is about wine, okay? I know Peggy will second this, but the more cheese we have, the more wine we get to have.
Okay. So I like any pizza, whether it's thin crust or the stuffed or the deep dish. But just want to point out that Chicago does have two types of, the thick pizzas, and there is a difference between them. And yes, the stuffed pizza does have more cheese on it. If it's a really good stuffed pizza, when you pull that slice out, there should be a really long string of cheese coming up with it.
Oh, this is my style now. So, okay, so when we go to Chicago, we need to do both. And I have a funny feeling the stuffed one may be a thing to do just on our side. But okay, I want to go around and talk a little bit more about ingredients. So like if, a lot of times you go to a pizza place and they'll ask you what you want, dough style or, you know, what kind of toppings you want. And I know that on cruise ships, Rose, you get to choose sometimes what restaurant you want to go to or what pizzeria you want to go to, right? On these princess cruises,
Yes.
which is fun. I just didn't know that they did actually have like a wood-fired oven out by the
Well,
pool.
so it's not. It was so the sit down pizzeria is not by the pool. It's on one of the lower decks where the restaurants are, and it's not going to be wood fired because we're on a ship. It's going
Okay.
to be gas fired, but it's a pizza oven, with a brick lined, not brick, but stone lined dedicated pizza oven, and they make the pizzas right there in front of you, and then they've got the paddle, and they stick it into the oven, and then when it's done, they pull it out with the wooden paddle and bring it to your table, and it's
Okay, so
good.
now when you get to have your own pizza made, like, they have their
hmm
specialties and then it's like, I really want this on a pizza. What are you ordering?
I tend to like the white pizzas with a lot of garlic and a lot of cheese and mushrooms.
Ooh, I'm hanging with
And
you. This is good. Peggy, what kind of wine would you pair with that?
I would put, I think, Pinot Noir or a Grenache with that. Even though it's a white pizza, it has that richness of the garlic. And of course, you can't have a Pinot Noir you can't have mushrooms without having a Pinot Noir. So I would do that. It would be beautiful.
You mean what I made for Nancy for breakfast this morning? We should have had a Pinot Noir instead of coffee.
Yeah, of course.
I just did an interview for our wine podcast coming up that Peggy's going to be on, and Cliff, I think you're going to be on that too. And Diane Dobry, and she talks about Hungarian wines, and she went wine tasting, and her friend goes, "Oh, we're going to go wine tasting. This is through Hungary." And they hadn't had breakfast yet. He goes, "No, don't eat breakfast. We need to drink wine before we ruin our taste for the day. So you have to taste without eating." I'm like, I might want to move to Hungary. That could be kind of crazy. I don't know about wine in the morning before breakfast, but anyway, we'll try that. So I like your style there, Rose. This sounds yummy. Cliff, what about you? What would you order?
I'm a meat lover pizza guy, so pepperoni is a must. That's my favorite. I also like sausage, but pepperoni would be my first choice. But having said that, a white pizza is also excellent. I'm not too hard to please when it comes to pizza, but I will leave the anchovies off my pizza and definitely no pineapple.
Yay.
Sorry, Jeff. Okay, Jeff, what is a must for you on your pizza if you go and it's like, all right, what do you want on there?
Well, for me, it tends to be pepperoni. I like a pizza with double cheese, double pepperoni, extra sauce. But I have to admit that when we did our pizza testing, our pizza crawl, in order to keep the comparison similar, we were having margarita pizzas. And when a margarita pizza is done well, it's so simple, but when it's really done well, it's a beautiful thing.
Ooh, you're right. And it's got like because there's a crisp and a fresh.
The basil and the cheese and the oil, and it's wonderful.
We want the oil. We do.
Yeah.
And it's good for us. I'm just saying. So I want to go back to Peggy on this because we're talking meats. Cliff's got all this meat, and then we've got pepperoni. I mean, how do you choose the wines for this?
Well, any good red wine is going to go down easy with the meat lovers and the pizzas that we're talking about. And fun fact, I was reading on Pizza Today, their site, that pepperoni is the most popular topping in America on pizzas, besides cheese and all that kind of good stuff, but pepperoni. And, in my opinion, I used to people would give me as a gift pepperoni, big things of pepperoni because they know how much I loved pepperoni. So when they came over to my house, they brought me a real stick of pepperoni from the Italian market because I just love it. But when you put it on pizza, it really needs to curl, and that's where a little bit of the oil kind of gathers inside the pepperoni curl. And in my opinion, that's a true pepperoni pizza when it does that. And of course, I make my own Italian sausage, and so Italian sausage is critical for me on a pizza. I just love it. Hot Italian sausage.
I think we're moving towards another Sausage Day podcast this year. Remember a couple years ago, Peggy,
Yes.
we did it? It was like we had 2 3-hour shows in one day on sausage.
Yes.
Seriously. No joke. Yep. Insane. But we traveled the country and around the world with sausage from South Africa to Louisiana. It was a blast. So I think we may have to do this again because it's Sausage Day today, it seems like. But Peggy, so pepperoni is your thing for your pizza? Is that your?
I would yes, I love pepperoni by itself, just by the stick and eat it. But I love Italian sausage. So that's my favorite topping, I believe, hot Italian sausage on my pizza. But, if you come to Arizona and you go and you want to try the best pizza, it's not a Chicago style, but it's a fire oven roasted pizza is at Bianco's. Chris Bianco, I don't know if anyone knows Chef Chris Bianco, but he was a James Beard Best of the Southwest winner, and Bianco Pizzeria won, outstanding restaurateur. But he does a truly, I think, Arizona-based pizza because on this pizza, his crust is incredible. He uses indigenous grains that he actually has milled locally to make the pizza crust. And he uses Arizona olive oil. And he also uses pistachios, and he roasts pistachios that we grow here in Arizona for it. And all that it is this beautiful crust, the pistachios, thinly sliced red onions, and then tops it with a drizzle of olive oil, and it is fire roasted. It is just an incredible pizza. And people come from all over the world to Bianco's, which is downtown Phoenix, to try this pizza. And New York Times rated this pizzeria as one of the top 22 pizzerias in the country in 2024. So it's a destination pizzeria, which is fun.
Is that the place that's right in like an antique old part of town?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes, Jeff.
those pizzas are fabulous.
Yes, he does a fabulous job, and it's worth, when you come to Arizona, you've got to do that.
I love that because it's something, it's unique to the ingredients that you have locally. And I think that is so interesting about pizza, because pizza really is something that people can, it's dough and a sauce and toppings, really. It's like making a sandwich out of, your local ingredients. And so, I know all of you traveled the world, and I think Peggy just gave a really good example of a pizza of something from, made locally. When we lived up in San Diego, we lived up in the mountains in Julian, and Winola Pizza, and I believe they're still there, just under different management now and ownership. But this was years ago, and it was years ago when I thought I could be vegan, and I tried. I tried really hard. But they made this Thai pizza, and it was like people had tofu, and I personally can't do tofu. But it was this sauce, and it was kind of a thin crust pizza. They did thin crust, but it was this sauce that they had. It was like a coleslaw. It was like eating salad on a pizza, but it was the sauce and some slivered almonds. It was, I still kind of crave it now. The little spicy, it was just not what you expected on a pizza. And I fell in love with that. And when, being a vegan, when I did actually do it very well when I ate whole foods, and it's actually a very, very healthy thing depending on who you are and what you're doing. But that was my go-to, and I just went, dude, I really need some good food that I'm not sitting there cooking for 10 years. Let's go there. It was, people that were not vegan ate it because it was so good. So I wonder about that kind of thing. Cliff, have you had pizza in the different countries you've explored that is more localized for the ingredients? Not that Julian San Diego is Thai at all. Not at all. They're known for apples and wine. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, not so much. When I travel in Europe, I tend not to get pizza. So, I tend more toward really local dishes. And if I'm doing Italian, it's more pasta. But when I lived in Singapore, there were pizza places that were not really things that you would write home about. They were more like, in fact, I think they were Pizza Hut-ish places. So Singapore pizza is not something I would recommend.
Well, I would say that about South African pizza at the beginning. Nancy and I always made our own, right, from dough on up. And then there were pizza places opening, and it just, the dough was always weird. But I did find out that South Africa, and I'm not knocking South Africa's probably got it right by now, but South Africa apparently made the largest pizza ever, and broke a Guinness World Record, weighing in at 26,883 pounds.
Jeez.
This is back in 1990. So we were actually living in the country at that time. So I didn't know that, so, there's people who actually, go ahead and do pizza eating contests. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how pizza is so filling. It's, to me, one of the joys of pizza is eating it for breakfast. And yes, I will have it with a cold beer in the morning, and I'll eat it cold, or make pizza breakfast. Nancy she can take leftover pizza and do the perfect egg. You do not reheat anything in a microwave or an oven. Somehow she's got it done. I don't know how she does it, because I've tried to do it a gazillion times, where she'll take a pizza, reheat it on a skillet, and still manage to fry an egg on top, but still have the egg runny. And it is the most delicious breakfast you can imagine. And a cold beer or a warm beer, depending on what beer you're drinking, really goes well. I'm just saying. So there's weird stuff that comes out of pizza. But I don't know if any of you do any of you eat pizza for breakfast?
Sure.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thank God we got the tribe on the show today. Okay, I like this. I like
Spaghetti's
this.
good
Now,
for breakfast too.
what did you say?
Spaghetti is good for
Oh,
breakfast.
dude, I'll eat salad for breakfast. I really don't care about breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I'll eat dessert, who cares? If you want to eat it, your body wants it, I can't help that my body consistently wants to consume pizza. That's just the way I was born. So it's just happening that way.
I think the group of us are going to have to get together for breakfast and have pizza and wine, and it all has to take place before 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'm fine. Peg,
Yeah,
I'm
with
in.
me.
It's all good with me. I really don't care about the time clock thing whatsoever. Not at all. Jeff, though, you've traveled the world as well. Any pizza in other countries that you've had?
I've had pizza in other countries. I had something that looked like pizza in
Look like it.
Montenegro.
That's funny.
It looked like pizza, and because I didn't speak the language, I couldn't order. And so I just said, give me a piece, whatever you recommend. And I got something, and it wasn't like anything I had ever had. It was good. It was different. But I have no idea what it was. But I will tell you, if you want to find some interesting pizzas, there's a place in Beaverton, Oregon called Hapa Pizza. And they are doing pizzas that are a blend of Italian and Asian. And so they have a banh mi pizza, a red curry pizza, and a mushroom sukiyaki pizza that all sound fabulous. And then there's a place in Cleveland, Mississippi, it's called Lenya Pizza and Bagels, and they make they take their Spanish influence or their Mexican influence and apply it. And so they have chorizo and papas, chorizo and potato pizza, and they have a Sonoran pizza, which she didn't think anybody would respond to, but people loved it. She swapped out, instead of using tomato sauce, she used refried beans. And so it's got refried beans, roasted jalapeno salsa. These are just unique combinations. The more I look into pizza, the more I'm believing that breaking with tradition is the new reality of today.
So it's like that Thai pizza I was talking about. It was so good. It was the sauce, and it was healthy, and it was delicious. Well, I say it was healthy, Rose, what about you? I mean, you're eating as you float, like eating pizza as you float through different countries. But when you're actually on a country on land, have you had different pizza in the world?
Not really. I usually try to taste some of the local food. But except when I'm in Italy, when I was in Italy, and that was the best pizza I've ever had, and that was in Sorrento, Neapolitan pizza, true, authentic, really thin crust Neapolitan pizza with just a coating of just enough of the sauce. Like we said earlier, when you've got everything balanced, it's a perfect taste. And then the fresh mozzarella, and then fresh basil. Simple ingredients, but something about the way they do it, and I guess the oven that they make it in is it's hard to beat. It's the most memorable pizzas I've ever eaten, and I've tried making it at home, and it just does not come out the same.
I think there's they say like gelato, you've just got to go to you can't have it anywhere else other than Italy.
I try. I keep trying because I keep hoping, and so whenever I see it, I can't go buy a gelateria without having a taste, but you're right. It's never quite the same. Might be close, but I keep trying because I have to do it. I have to do the quality control as I travel the world when I go buy a gelateria.
Well, it's your job. You're a traveling food wine writer. It's important.
It is, exactly.
Now, Peggy, when you've traveled, have you had pizzas in different countries?
I haven't. My family is from Sicily on my father's side, and so I grew up with Sicilian style pizza, which is the rectangular style of pizza, not round at all. Historically, a Sicilian pizza is rectangular. and it is a thicker crust and still with some. And the dough though is more like focaccia. It's a little bit more doughy and softer than a lot of traditional pizzas, and simple on top with onions and cheeses and but yeah, Sicilian pizza you need to try. And I think that's becoming popular in this country in it's called the Detroit style maybe pizza, which is rectangular or square. The slices come, but no, I haven't traveled a lot where I would go for pizzas. So I just
Yeah.
have the history, my family history, being Sicilian.
Well, I just did a podcast recording for Moonshine Day, which is June 5th. Everyone's very important.
Yes.
It is. And it was about Kansas bootleggers and moonshiners. And because it's a whole history. It's insane, but it's very much an immigrant story of people coming to Kansas to do the coal mines. And I mean, there were ads in the newspapers way back when telling people the streets were paved with gold. Come over, and they get there and it's like, no. And they were poor. They were living in like little teeny houses, doing really hard work in the coal mines. And then when they created their own prohibition, even before statehood, so they started prohibition and temperance before prohibition hit, which is, I get why they had to do it, but like, come on now. But apparently it was the Sicilians that were really quite prolific. I just want to say that your heritage was very prolific in shining and bootlegging in Kansas. Because every few sentences, this professor and author kept saying, well, the Sicilians. And I'm like, Peggy, Peggy, your family went down from Chicago to Kansas.
Oh, yes, of course. I get my winemaking ability from my heritage on both sides of my family. So I got my Sicilian side from my father's side, and the bootlegging side on my grandpa was on my mom's side was like he was bootlegger Bill in the back hills of Kentucky, and he was, I guess, very famous for his bootlegging in Kentucky. And so I come by it honestly. That's I should have always been in the wine business. I came late into the business, but I feel at home making liquor.
Well, I've got to bring this around to Cliff, because Cliff, a number of his books go into the world of Appalachian country, and which is where we are right now. It's in looking at the beautiful Smoky Mountains. It is so gorgeous. And I remember the first time interviewing, I think it was the first or second time, Cliff, you came on the show. And, you created this mystique of Appalachia, and I'm like, oh, I want to go. And I remember I was just enamored about the place that you set in your stories, and having not been there yet. And now being there, I get it, but you got a lot of moonshining in this region. Have you ever written about moonshiners?
I have.
Bootleggers?
I have not, although in one of my books, it's sort of a tangential thing because it's a very rural community, and so it gets mentioned in that book. But I have tasted moonshine. I've spent some time in Tennessee, and definitely it's not as awful as it probably once was. I mean, there's sort of gourmet moonshine these days, so it can be good.
The first moonshine I had was in a hotel in Louisiana at a beer and wine happy hour thing that they always have in like a name brand hotel, because there's a lot of, executives and everything at this hotel. And the lady there, the manager kept saying, Nancy and Lisa, you need to be here at 4:00 today. And I'm like, well, we have all these stories to do on this, blah, blah, blah. And we get there, and there's a guy with the jugs, like milk jugs of moonshine. and that he made, and people tried to fly home with it. It was so good. There was banana, there was cherry, there was all these different flavors. And that was my first moonshine, and many more experiences have come afterwards. But I think it's really fascinating. It's totally off topic. But it is happy hour. So anybody else want to add in on the moonshine? Since, I mean, come on, we can have pizza and moonshine. Why not? I mean, Rose, have you had moonshine?
So as a honors project, I think maybe freshman year in one of my chemistry classes, it wasn't.
By the way,
wasn't
yes,
technically...
everyone, Rose is a scientist, just to bring this back too. So she knows the science of food going on the pizza and the toppings. No, I'm just kidding, but yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't call it moonshine, but I had to learn how to make some ethanol and distill it and check the purity of it. So, I mean, technically, I guess you would say it was moonshine, but it was under the guise of doing science.
We did that when I was in boarding school, in high school, in Grahamstown. We all brewed pineapple beer in the rafters. It was great.
That doesn't sound like science.
Well, it was a tradition, and if you didn't do it, you were just, and there was pineapple, and we were surrounded by pineapple fields in the Eastern Cape area. It was just, pineapple country, Port Alfred and all that area. And so a lot of the kids were farmers' children, because that was the best, easiest way for them to get education. And so we had no problem with a bunch of pineapples, and we knew what to do. And the hostel always smelled quite nice and interesting anyway. Interesting.
This is why you want pineapple on your pizza.
Oh, we're back to the pineapple. See how that came back around? Well done, Jeff. Jeff's here for a reason. So Jeff, have you had moonshine? I have a feeling you have.
No, I haven't actually. I had a friend that lived in Tennessee, and I kept on begging him. I said, "Come on, get some moonshine." And I think he was just kind of shy about it and didn't want to go find it for me. So that's one of the things I haven't had. I put a lot of things.
Okay, Jeff. When we get to Jacksonville, we're going to sort this out. We're going to sort this out. We're going to take.
And we have pizza places here that serve every variety. So you can, if you want the deep dish, or you want the Neapolitan, or you want the Roman thick, we can do a pizza crawl of note. Do some serious damage.
With wine and shine. See, yeah. Wine and shine. You have wine with the pizza, shine after. Huh? Yeah, road trip. We're back to the road trip theme again. Oh, I love this. So I want to quickly, before we get to our big question of inviting 3 people for a pizza party, I want to ask each of you about a local place that if someone comes knocking on your door saying, "Hey, I want to go." And Peggy, I think you already gave yours away, or unless you have another one in your bag, but you probably do. Who knows? If you have a local pizza place in your town, where would you say go for pizza? And I have to tell you, just as Nancy and I travel the country as pet sitters, doing our pet sit. So we're living locally. And no, we do not make money pet sitting. It is not a career, but it is our way of travel. And we are really immersed in the communities, which is a very cool way of traveling. Pizza is part of, I'm tired. I don't want to make anything. I need pizza. And there's, yes, the chain stores that you can go to, but I want to thank all the hosts over the 5 years that almost 5 years we've been pet sitting, who always recommend their local independent pizza places, because there's something about it. It's just like what Peggy was talking about, how they go with their family heritage or something local, using local ingredients. It just is like, here's a taste of place, right? And you can do that with pizza because, again, it's dough, sauce, and toppings. So it's an empanada even. It's, you got to think of calzones and all of that. It's all the same baby. So when you think about local places, Cliff, where would you recommend? And are you going to go right to your town, or you can go countywide, Yeah.
So as you know, I live in a small town in Virginia, and we actually have 3 really good pizza places in downtown. But I'm going to mention one, which is called The Shack. It used to be, so the chef who ran the Shack, he had it as an upscale fixed price tasting menu. Really, even though the space was a shack, literally, the menu was amazing, and it was a very expensive restaurant. And he decided to split himself into two, and so he's created a separate restaurant to do that. But then in the Shack building, he does gourmet pizzas and amazing pasta. It's like the best pasta I've ever had anywhere. But the pizzas are also fabulous, and you don't get to really design your own toppings so much. You get to choose from maybe five different pizzas that are on offer that night, and he
Mm.
plays around with them and has lots of different styles, not styles because they're all pretty thin crust pizzas, but that is such a fun place to go. The food is fabulous. They have great wine pairings for the pizza and pasta, and that's where I would recommend you go.
Ooh, it reminds me of a place we used to go to in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, where Nancy had her magazine. It was called Bruno's, Italian restaurant. And our good friends used to play music there. And it was like this very intimate restaurant. And they made pizza. I don't know, the way you're describing it just put me there. And it was very thin crust. So yeah, this was the real pizza. This was the good pizza place. I can't believe I forgot about him. Bruno's, and it was such an intimate place, but with the musicians and our friends, it was shenanigans. It was a big happy hour. Let's just put it that way. But this pizza was so good, and that's when I discovered what real olives are. Good olives on a pizza, which is to me one of the most important food groups on a pizza is an olive. Not the ones out of the can. No offense to the canned pizzas, but I mean olives. I want the good ones. I want the calamatas and you want the oily, greasy, salty, tangy. Like that's where I learned. But I wonder this, Cliff, when you're talking about the chef being, this is the kind of pizza. When you get those pizzas, do you still have a little flour with the pizza? Because I kind of feel like there's something about when you get a pizza and it's still got flour on it. Like
on the edge,
yeah.
On the edge of the crust, yeah, sure, because it's right out of the oven. They have a brick oven in the back of the shack also. So yeah, and I actually pulled up the menu just now. This is not what they have all the time, but there are a couple of really interesting pizzas on this sample menu. One of them is the mortadella pizza with black walnut, burrata, and basil. That sounds really. Then there's the Bianca pizza, which is oyster mushrooms, Grayson garlic, and garlic red wine on the pizza itself. So, and there's some other ones that look really good too.
Whee! This is so much fun. This is fun. All right. So, Peggy, do you have another one in your back pocket?
I don't. For thin crust, we just order pizza. Our go-to order of a pizza on the way home from the tasting room is Razzati's Pizza, again, from Chicago. But they have one here by my home in Arizona. But they'd have wonderful thin crust pizza, which I love. But no, the go-to is Pizzeria Bianco. So when you come to Arizona, it's nothing. What's great about, I think, a good pizza is when they use high quality ingredients and make it simply, with fresh basil, fresh tomatoes, great crust, and just the simpler sometimes is the best. And Pizzeria Bianco knows how to do it well.
Now, what about you, Jeff? I know you've got this whole pizza crawl going on, but
well, I will tell you there are two places that I recommend. The first is there's an Italian restaurant here called Prati Italia, and they make this pizza that's kind of an old world, new world style. It's a little bit like Roman, a little bit like Detroit styles, and it's thick and it's got the crispy edge and it's really good. They're opening a new pizza place sometime in the next couple of months called Electric Dough Pizza. They've got a website up, but they don't have the menu yet. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they've got. But you can't go wrong with that stuff. And then if you want a more traditional Neapolitan style, there's this place up in the Mayport area, and it's called Reeve Brewing and Bones Pizza. And Bones makes these really fabulous Neapolitan pizzas. The crust is just about as good as it gets. And then Reeve, because they're a brewery, they have a lot of really interesting beers there. And I'm not a beer drinker, but I got to tell you, drinking beer with those Bones pizzas, really a good time.
It's about the yeast. The yeast, the wine, the yeast, and well, the beer. I think it's in the yeast and the dough. It's a yeast trifecta. Yeah. You can do all of it, quite frankly. Rose, what about you? Out in Pennsylvania, yeah.
Well, Pennsylvania, but just across the border from me in Wilmington, Delaware, is my favorite pizzeria, and it's called Elizabeth's. And all their pizzas are named after a famous Elizabeth. And my two favorites, one is called the Shannon, and it has fig jam, blue cheese, thinly sliced prosciutto, and then is garnished with scallions. So not your typical pizza. And then the other one that I get quite frequently is called the Saint, and that one is creamy crab with artichoke and parmesan. So kind of like the crab dip, but it's spread on the pizza, and then it's topped with chives and paprika. So now, they have kind of your more typical types of pizzas with tomato sauce and cheeses and all, but these are the more unique ones, and these are the ones that I like.
Very cool. I'm going to give a shout out to here in Asheville. Well, we're actually in Fairview, which is right out, like it's a suburb. Can't even say suburb of Asheville. And there's a pizza place here that we adore, and we come here for the pizza and dogs first. The pizza here is, Piazza is the name. And honestly, the thing is that the dough becomes sourdough the next day. And sometimes you want to keep it for a third day. It's just the way the dough is. And they have a Hawaiian 5-0 for you, Jeff. They have I was looking at this, just for, Cliff, the Godfather, has pepperoni, Italian sausage, soppressata, I don't know what that is, mushrooms, green peppers, Kalamata olives, yeah, I'm in, red onion, mozzarella, tomato sauce. I think I'll try that next, is the Godfather. It sounds good, and we can play that music when we eat it, but it is fantastic. It is just, we've had their salads, we've had their ravioli. Good ravioli is a good thing. That's a whole other show. But all right, let's go to the main question. All right, Peggy, you ready?
Yes.
3 people, alive, passed on, or fictional. We got Cliff here, so you never know where what character could pop up. You're going to invite them to a pizza party at your house. Who would you invite, and what are you making?
It would be obviously Italians that I'm inviting, and Chris Bianco, obviously one of them. And then Giada De Laurentiis, who just opened a couple restaurants here in Arizona. I would bring her. Invite her. She sounds like a hoot. And then Chef Scott Conan, another Italian, and has incredible restaurants here in Arizona and all over the place. I would invite him. And we would do everything Italians, including pizza, and with a lot of wine and hopefully a lot of laughs. I guess I would invite my husband, maybe. Yeah, I think I would
come on, he
husband.
makes the wine. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
Yes,
yeah.
He would be invited too. And we'd have a blast, I'm sure.
And he makes good brownies too.
Yeah.
For dessert. So, Giada, I've got a great recipe from one of her cookbooks on the website. Awesome. When we reviewed one of her cookbooks called Positano Pizzas. And they're little heart-shaped pizzas that you make as a sandwich. So you take the dough on both sides, and the center is everyone's favorite here, pepperoni. So there you go.
Love it.
Yeah. I'll put that in the links as well for everyone. We've got a lot of pizza recipes, so I'll make sure to put that in the episode notes for everyone. So, Rose, I'm going to go back to you. who are you inviting? Are you doing it? You might not even do it in your house. You might invite them all on a cruise ship.
No, no, I think I'd want them at my house because I would want to watch and listen to the conversations and the interactions. So it's a rather eclectic mix. So I'm going to first draw on my science background and invite Marie Curie as the first female chemist who won the Nobel Prize. And then for a fictional character, one of my favorite fictional characters is Amelia Peabody Emerson, who's a noted Egyptologist. Read many, many stories with her as the main character, and she's a very strong, opinionated woman. So I'd be very curious to hear what she has to say about pizza. I don't think they had pizza in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So she might not take to it. I don't know. And then finally, I'd like to have Michelle Obama and see, what kind of a interesting conversation we have with the three of them. And I would make the dough and give them each a third and put out a whole bunch of ingredients and then let them go to it and see what they come up with. And have some interesting conversations and some wine, of course, or beer or, moonshine. I don't know, whatever they want to drink.
Moonshine. We're back to the shine. Well, hey, Michelle Obama's got a new podcast out. It's pretty cool. I was going to say, Cliff, that ties back to you again, right? With you possibly have met her or connected with her when you worked in Illinois.
Yeah. You have a good memory there. Well, first of all, it's a good thing that Michelle is going to Rose's for pizza because I'm inviting Barack. So, so that's good. Although if he wanted to bring Michelle along, that would be okay. But so speaking of how I sort of know Michelle, I used to be in a big Chicago law firm, and it was the firm that Michelle was an associate in, and it's also where Barack was a summer intern, and that's how they met at my law firm. So, and I was living in Singapore at the time that she was working in Chicago, but my story that I'm sticking to is that on occasion when I came back to the head office in Chicago, I might have met her. So
you never know in life.
Yeah,
you really don't.
In addition to Barack, I would invite Rachel Maddow, and they will have some really interesting conversations, I believe. And Rachel, is one of the smartest people on television, and I would just love to hear her views on everything. So that should be a pretty interesting conversation. And then dipping into my literary interests, one of my very favorite writers is Colum McCann. And I have met him, and he's a super nice guy, and he would be a load of fun, I'm sure, at my pizza party. And for pizza, I'm going to have two because I have to have a meat lover's pizza, but I don't know what anybody else's preferences are. So I think I'm going to have a vegetarian pizza loaded up with all kinds of whatever's in season when they're able to come. So not sure what that will be. Maybe it'll be kind of a weird pizza with cauliflower and spinach and some other stuff.
This is cool. This is real fun. I'm liking this. Now, let's go to Jeff.
So it's hard to narrow down the list, but I've got a few, so I'll give you the three. I think I'd like to have Dorothy Parker because I've read a lot about her, and it sounds like when she was the life of the party, she was really the life of the party, and I think that would be great, having pizza and wine and whatever. So, and I think she'd be very interesting. I have no idea whether Leonardo da Vinci was ever the life of the party. We know about his creativity and his innovation, but I don't know what the guy was like.
He threw parties.
Huh?
He used to throw huge parties
Did
and
he?
was actually hired all the time as an event coordinator, what we call today an event coordinator. And that's how he made his bread and butter so he could do what he really wanted to do.
Oh, good to know. Well, then, Leo, come on down. And
And he
then,
has one of the oldest vineyards in the world.
yeah, oh, there we go. And then the third would be keeping in the Italian vein. It would be Giancarlo Giannini, because I think he's just a really interesting guy, and and having the Italian perspective around the table, why not?
This is fun. What are you cooking? Like, what pizza?
Oh God, I have to make it.
Pineapple on everything.
Yeah,
He's ordering in because you can't
no,
get it delivered.
no, Lisa, we're gonna get you your own pineapple pizza and stick you over in the corner.
I'm not eating the pineapple pizza, not unless there's rum
Okay?
involved and it's a
We,
dessert
we, we,
pizza.
we can organize that. No, I don't.
Okay.
If I was going to make the pizza, look. I've been trying to make a good pizza, and what I've realized is that what I really like in the way of a pizza requires the really good high temperature. What is it? I think Neapolitan style pizzas. You need a pizza that gets up somewhere between 800 and 1,000 degrees. And I'm lucky if my home oven hits 450. So I'm not going to get the kind of crust that I want at home. But
Wow.
yeah. But
You got to have a wood-fired oven because that's what you do in Florida. Have another hot oven,
there
but
you
keep it
go.
outside. Keep it outside. I'm going to invite three. I'm going to be doing the olives, mushrooms kind of thing, and I don't even think I want to do. I'm scared to cook in front of these people. One would be Clementine Paddleford. I have a thing about this woman. She was a food writer that was active through the 20s to the 60s. She even ended up flying her own plane. She did so much in regards to letting America know how and where what they were eating across the country. And she wrote for numerous newspapers. She was from Kansas and she died in New York, but she has written a number of books. She was syndicated in newspapers all over and really was almost known as America's first food writer. So I give a shout out to her, and I'd like to have her talk about what she saw on the table back in the day and what she saw as pizza emerged on our plates. Because think about it, from the 20s to the 60s, right? The other person would be Anthony Bourdain, just because I always want him at a table because he says what he wants, and I like that. And he's eaten pizza all over the world. But the third one, and I think I would ask him to make the pizza for some reason. I think he would be good at it. The other one is Charlie Trotter, Chef Charlie Trotter. And I think
He can't make a pizza.
I know he was crazy-ish he was a very driven human being, but he changed America's food scene, single-handedly changed how we have high-end restaurants and what happens in restaurants. So those are my three. I normally would have a bunch of women in there too, but there's one, but I just think those three would be really interesting because they're all three pioneers in their fields. Even though, Bourdain was a chef too, but he really did travel the globe. Clementine was, especially as a woman, being a journalist, which was back in the day, and being flown around because she was having to do too much. She was being flown around by newspapers to get her stories, like fly her to a farm in Iowa, and then she'd fly to Kansas or something, So it's fascinating. So I would like to sit down with pizza because pizza's easy to eat, have some wine or whatever they want, and just hear about their starts of being a pioneer. Because when you're the pioneer, it's the hardest road. And then right after you're the pioneer, someone swoops in and tries to steal what you're doing. And, and half the time they don't get the credit they deserved, just like Clementine and I think Charlie Trotter. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast. Thank you all so much. It's been a fun happy hour. Who wants to go eat pizza?
Yeah,
I do.
absolutely.
I do.
Let's go. Let's go eat. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, everyone's links are in the episode notes. Clifford Garstang, you can go to cliffordgarstang.com. Go check out his books. And listen, when you buy his book, don't put the pepperoni oil on the pages. But, maybe Jeff will let you do that to his book, My Life in Gluttony. I think you could get all that oil. I don't know. Cliff, is it okay if people stain the pages of the books?
Yeah, that way they can't resell them.
Oh, well done. Rose, everyone keep up with Rose at cooltripping.com, and you keep up with her podcast with us every second Thursday. For Jeff, keep up with him at spearwrites.countantly.com, or also go to studiospear.com. And for Peggy over at LDV Winery, who's on our show every first Wednesday, go to ldvwinery.com. Thank you all so much. I am super hungry and I'm thirsty. I need wine.
Sounds great, Lisa.
Thanks,
Great.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Happy Hour podcast. New episodes air every second Monday and third Friday. Visit us at bigblendradio.com.